Have you ever met someone who seemed kind, honest, and genuine, yet something inside you kept whispering, "Don't trust them"? Maybe you couldn't explain it. Maybe they hadn't done anything wrong. But your mind was already building invisible walls before they even had a chance to know you. If that sounds familiar, stay with me, because by the end of this video you may discover that your difficulty trusting others isn't really about them. It's about something much deeper that has quietly shaped the way you see every relationship in your life. Trust is one of the most valuable things humans can give each other. Every friendship, every romance, every family bond, every successful team depends on it. Yet for millions of people, trust feels dangerous instead of comforting. They want connection, but they also expect disappointment. They hope someone will stay, but they prepare for them to leave. They want love, but they keep emotional armor on all the time. What's fascinating is that this usually doesn't happen consciously. Most people don't wake up one morning and decide they will never trust anyone again. Instead, it happens little by little. A broken promise here. A betrayal there. A parent who wasn't emotionally available. A friend who disappeared when life became difficult. A partner who lied. None of these experiences seem big enough by themselves, but together they quietly teach your brain an important lesson: being vulnerable is risky. Your brain is built to protect you. It doesn't care nearly as much about making you happy as it cares about keeping you safe. Once it identifies something as emotionally dangerous, it starts looking for signs that history might repeat itself. That's why someone with trust issues often notices small details that others completely ignore. A delayed text message. A strange facial expression. A change in tone of voice. To someone else these things mean nothing. To an anxious brain, they might feel like evidence that something bad is about to happen. Here's something many people never realize. Distrust often feels like wisdom. It feels intelligent. It feels responsible. You tell yourself you're simply being careful. You're protecting yourself. You're avoiding getting hurt again. But sometimes what feels like wisdom is actually fear wearing a very convincing disguise. Think about someone walking through a forest after being bitten by a snake years ago. Every stick on the ground suddenly looks dangerous. Every rustling leaf sounds like another snake. Their fear isn't irrational. It's understandable. But eventually the fear starts reacting not only to real danger, but to harmless situations too. Emotional trust works in exactly the same way. One of the biggest misconceptions about trust is believing it's something you either have or don't have. In reality, trust exists on a spectrum. Some people trust too easily. Others trust almost nobody. Healthy trust sits somewhere in the middle. It doesn't ignore warning signs, but it also doesn't invent them where they don't exist. Research in psychology has repeatedly shown that early experiences shape our expectations about relationships. Children who consistently experience safety, honesty, and emotional support often grow into adults who believe people can generally be trusted. Children who experience inconsistency, criticism, emotional neglect, or betrayal may unconsciously expect similar patterns later in life. The important word here is unconsciously. Many adults have no idea that they're still reacting to emotional lessons learned decades ago. Imagine a child who shares exciting news with a parent, only to be ignored repeatedly. Eventually that child stops sharing. Years later, as an adult, they might wonder why opening up feels uncomfortable. They assume it's just their personality. But often it's an adaptation that once made perfect sense. Your emotional system remembers experiences even when your conscious mind has stopped thinking about them. This is why two people can experience the exact same situation very differently. One person sees a partner working late and thinks, they're probably busy. Another immediately thinks, they're losing interest. The event is identical. The story the brain creates is completely different. Here's another surprising truth. Sometimes people who struggle with trust aren't actually afraid of being betrayed. They're afraid of being wrong. Because trusting someone means taking a risk. It means admitting you don't have complete control over what happens next. If the other person hurts you, your brain doesn't only experience pain. It also feels embarrassment for believing in someone who turned out to be different than expected. That fear can become so uncomfortable that avoiding trust begins to feel easier than risking disappointment. But here's the hidden cost. When you avoid trust completely, you don't only avoid pain. You also avoid closeness. You avoid intimacy. You avoid experiences that could completely change your life. It's a little like refusing to plant seeds because some plants eventually die. Yes, you'll avoid disappointment. But you'll also never enjoy a garden. There's another emotional pattern that often surprises people. Sometimes distrust has very little to do with others and a great deal to do with how we see ourselves. If deep inside you believe you're not worthy of loyalty, kindness, or lasting love, you'll unconsciously expect people to eventually confirm that belief. Compliments become suspicious. Kindness feels temporary. Love feels conditional. You keep waiting for people to reveal their real intentions because somewhere inside you believe genuine acceptance can't possibly last. This isn't weakness. It's a psychological pattern that many people carry without realizing it. One interesting finding from relationship research is that healthy trust isn't built through grand romantic gestures. It's built through consistency. Tiny moments repeated over time. Someone says they'll call, and they call. Someone apologizes sincerely after making a mistake. Someone listens without judging. Someone shows up when life gets difficult. Your brain slowly gathers evidence. Trust isn't usually created by one dramatic event. It's accumulated through hundreds of ordinary moments. Ironically, people who struggle with trust often overlook these ordinary moments because their attention naturally focuses on potential threats. This is called negativity bias. Our brains remember negative experiences more intensely than positive ones because, throughout human evolution, paying attention to danger increased survival. Unfortunately, this means your mind can remember one betrayal more vividly than years of loyalty. Have you ever noticed how one rude comment can stay with you for days while 10 compliments disappear within minutes? Your brain isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it evolved to do. The challenge is learning when that ancient survival system is protecting you, and when it's limiting you. Another important realization is that trust doesn't mean ignoring red flags. Healthy trust isn't blind optimism. It isn't believing everyone deserves unlimited access to your life. Real trust is gradual. It grows with evidence. It allows boundaries to exist. In fact, strong boundaries often make trusting easier because you know you can protect yourself if necessary. Many people think boundaries push others away. In reality, healthy boundaries create safer relationships because expectations become clear. Here's a question worth asking yourself. When someone disappoints you, do you assume they made a mistake? Or do you immediately assume they revealed who they truly are? Your answer may reveal more about your emotional history than about the other person. Human beings are imperfect. Reliable people forget birthdays. Good friends sometimes become overwhelmed. Loving partners occasionally say the wrong thing. The goal isn't finding people who never disappoint you. The goal is finding people whose actions consistently demonstrate honesty, accountability, and care. There's another quiet trap many people fall into. Testing people. Maybe you've done this without noticing. You wait longer to reply just to see if they'll message again. You hide your feelings to see whether they'll notice. You create emotional distance hoping they'll chase you. These tests rarely create the answers you're looking for. Instead, they often create confusion. Healthy relationships grow through communication, not hidden exams. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is understanding that trust isn't only about predicting someone else's behavior. It's also about trusting yourself. Trusting that you'll recognize unhealthy patterns. Trusting that you'll leave relationships that repeatedly harm you. Trusting that you can survive disappointment if it happens. When you believe in your own ability to recover, other people become less frightening. Because suddenly every relationship doesn't feel like an all-or-nothing gamble. It simply becomes one part of your life. Think back to the people you've trusted the most. Was it because they were perfect? Probably not. It was probably because they were consistent, predictable, honest, emotionally available, and perhaps most importantly, they allowed you to be yourself without constantly making you feel like you had to earn their acceptance. That's what emotional safety feels like. Not excitement. Not drama. Not endless uncertainty. Safety. Sometimes people mistake chaos for passion because unpredictability creates emotional intensity. But intensity isn't the same as connection. In fact, some of the healthiest relationships feel surprisingly calm. There's less guessing, less overthinking, less fear. Just two imperfect people choosing honesty again and again. If you've struggled with trust for years, don't expect one realization to erase every fear overnight. Your brain learned these protective patterns over time. It will also need time to build new ones. Every small experience of honesty matters. Every healthy conversation matters. Every relationship that proves your old fears wrong becomes another piece of evidence your mind can use to update its expectations. Perhaps the biggest revelation is this. Trust isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision not to let fear make every decision for you. Fear will probably always whisper. It may remind you of old disappointments. It may predict future heartbreak. But fear doesn't always predict reality. Sometimes it's simply repeating old stories that no longer fit your present life. The next time you find yourself assuming the worst about someone, pause for a moment. Ask yourself a simple question. Am I reacting to this person? Or am I reacting to someone from my past? That single question has the power to change the way you experience relationships forever. Because healing doesn't begin when the world suddenly becomes safe. Healing begins when you recognize that not every new person deserves to carry the weight of someone else's mistakes. Maybe that's the real purpose of trust. Not guaranteeing that you'll never get hurt again, but giving yourself permission to experience genuine connection despite knowing life can never offer absolute certainty. And perhaps that's one of the bravest things any human being can do. If this helped you understand your mind better, subscribe for more videos like this.